Hey friends, this is BC Bushman here, and today I'm going to show you this 162 SE saw that I acquired for free. Now it has some damage to it, and didn't run right away, so I'm going to show you a couple things I did to this saw to make it run better, to get it running, and to be able to use it for getting yourself firewood and whatever you desire. Let's get into it, friends. Alrighty, so first thing, I'll just talk about what was wrong with it. Just give me a minute, friends. So first thing, I'll talk about what I figured out on the saw, what was wrong with it. So obviously there's this plastic broken, no big deal, it's not gonna hurt how it runs or anything, right? So it had no chain brake on it. The bolts are well stripped, I'll show that later. There was like oil leaking out right here in a crack that somebody JB welded, but it was leaking out in a hole that almost looked like it was drilled out. So I figured somebody made their own oiler, but it didn't work very well. And the fuel line, as you can tell, is basically just mush. So, and the fuel filter was popped off, so right away I realized I'm gonna have to clean my car before anything. Oh, and the chain tensioner was snapped apart into a couple pieces. So first thing, to lighten this up, I got a 20-inch bar on there. It's what I like to firewood with a saw of this size. Now this 162 SE is a 71, sorry friends, 61.5 saw, CC saw. So as you can tell, friends, already, I got washers on there. I'll show why once I get the bar off. There's also a couple things I did to this too. So basically, for the time being, the things I did to this saw were done basically on a budget, I would suppose, just to get it running, get it working, be able to go cut some firewood with it or whatever have you. So basically, I didn't spend a bunch of money on getting this saw running because I got it for free. I probably spent about under $20. Bar comes off. Now, I'll change your view and show you guys what's happening here. Hey guys. So, there's the clutch assembly where your bar seats. Now, these guides and guards, I'm pretty sure aren't meant for this saw, but I run them anyways because they help with a couple reasons because of how used this saw is. So here's the new bar tensioner. I had got 2 of those, 2 extra with my purchase. They're just a Chinese bar tensioner. The piece of metal I had to shave down and put in right there and not right there. So as you can see here is JB Weld I put on there. There was already JB Weld. You can see right there some old JB Weld. There was already JB Weld along here. Now I put extra JB Weld on here and then drilled a hole into it going to where that hole was on the old JB Weld. And now as you can tell, there's a little groove there on this plate now, and that is, as you can tell, right in line with the middle of the saw. So the cool thing about this is it goes in between the bar and onto either side of the bar onto the chain. So that works well for the time being. Eventually I'm going to replace the oiler system and see if it gets going after that. And also, now you can see what I'm talking about. So the studs are pretty much very well stripped. There's like basically 1/4 left on the outside of unstripped threads. So what I have to do after putting this on, I have to put a couple washers so those nuts are right on the end basically. And I've been paying attention to them. They haven't been loosening. Seems to work well, and I've cut 2 cords of firewood with this saw like that. Now, discard piece. There's still a piece of the old chain brake there. I didn't put this piece of rubber in there. It was already in there. I figured I'd just leave it because it would probably dull your chain less if it popped off than the steel, because I can tell it's been hit with a chain a couple times. So when I got this saw for free, it didn't have the chain brake, as you can clearly see when it's on the saw. Now, so what I did was I took this piece that was on here that holds the chain brake, and I had cut it off for aesthetics, and probably drops a little bit of weight, but nothing that you'd really notice. And as you can tell, where these nuts go are pretty beat up too. So that's what the washers help with. Now you can see a crack there clearly on the outside. So what I did to solve that was I took my Dremel diamond bit and I went into this pocket, degreased it, went into this pocket, grounded out the inside, grounded out the inside, grounded out the inside of that pocket, and same with these two. There I put a piece of paper because I didn't want to fill this whole thing, because I would have used all my JB Weld. And yeah, so basically there's a crack here, there's a crack there, and then there was another one right here. So that should make it sturdy and help spread out the force of the bolts in the bar and whatnot. So now I want to talk about the muffler. So for the muffler, as you can tell, this is an old saw. It's been used. When I got it, it almost looked like it was sitting outside because it had pine needles on it all over it. So it's missing a fin there. And I modded this muffler. So basically, pretty sure this heat guard maybe came up here. Not entirely sure, but it broke off, so I just sanded the edges. Before I had it, it broke off. So basically what I did here was essentially did the same thing as what the saw came with, just on the front. So I used my Dremel, made the most sense. Cut slits in here, about ½ inch apart, 2 of them, same size. Put a couple little relief cuts just so it would bend a bit nicer. And then bent that up, and you got extra airflow there. And for these saws, it's a 2-piece muffler. Comes apart, well, technically 3-piece. Comes apart here, separates from this end. There's a middle piece in here that's basically 2 pieces of metal with holes in them, sandwiching a screen. It's a spark arrestor. Now I didn't take that out, but I drilled many extra holes in it, about more than what this is opening up extra airflow wise. So that was one of my exhaust mods, just to make her run a bit hotter. Now let's get into what I did to get this saw running. So basically, as I mentioned, fuel line, garbage. So what I did was I went on Amazon and bought an $18 fuel line, only to realize that they're $2 on eBay. Well, whatever you learn, you live and you learn, right? Now, before I ordered a carb kit for this saw, which I'll probably do eventually anyways, I wanted to see if I could just get it running by cleaning the carburetor. Now, what I use for carburetor cleaner is seafoam. Here's the jar that I put it in to clean it. Now, in my next video on this saw, we will be probably putting a carb kit in it, putting some new studs on it, and a new engine. This piston has slight scratching, but it still rips, as you'll see. So this air filter, friends, it's clearly an old and used air filter. Very, very gummed up and dirty. I almost tried to find a new one. I soaked it in gas for a while, blew out all the particulate. Seems to work great. I can nearly see right through it. So I'll probably just keep using that until I come across a new filter for it, I guess. Because that's no problem. That works just fine. So, there's the carburetor. I took out the carburetor, cleaned the carburetor, and like I said, used the seafoam. Took my high and low jet out, tuning adjustments, and took off all the washers, top and bottom. Sorry friends, took off all the gaskets, top and bottom. Left the gaskets separate, soaked all the metal components, ½ hour, air blowed them all out, and then I took my gaskets, soaked them for 10 minutes maybe, blew them off, put it back together, and as you'll see, runs just fine. Now I'll show you the new gas line. So basically, for this gas line, it's definitely a more quality gas line. It's fairly simple. Your gas tank is basically here. and this top piece is basically false right there. It separates, and then below that is where your gas tank meets your fuel line. Now you put your fuel line in there, fairly simple. I just reused my old filter, blew it out, made sure it was clean, make sure it blew through it, make sure it was working, and bada bing bada boom, we got a free running saw friends that we can cut firewood with for a long time. Now, I did notice one thing after using the saw. I'd shut it off, and I could hear this hissing sound, and that's basically to relieve pressure out of your gas tank, which I need to order a new one of those because one is not working very well, and there's always lots of pressure in there. So, this is BC Bushman. I hope you enjoy what you're watching. Let's go cut some wood.